Hello and welcome, travelers of the internet, to Pillars of Eternity. We left off doing a lot of backstory stuff with Durance and Sagani, and had to tell a certain lord. What was his name? What was that lord's name? I can't remember. I called the court. Lord Gathbin. We had to tell him off to stay out of our property because we earned it. You know, rightly so. He left it sitting there for a century or so. And, you know, he's a bit of a jerk. But now we're ready to carry on with main missions. We're going to head to the Deerford village.
Not a problem.
Very loud. Okay. Stonewall Gorge. What do we got around here? Trouble? Trolls? Mushrooms. Oh, druids. I got some nice loot. How much money do I have now? 17,000. Wowee. We have lions. Oh. Hey, Dillam gone. It's like Spriggan. Oh, poor little Bambi. Got jumped by 6 lions. What have we down here? Ah. Water. Okay. Haravius? What are you here for? Oh, he's got a portrait. Chewing on a piece of uncooked meat, a small Orlan dressed in tattered leathers offers a mumbled greeting and waves his hand. So he's like, Despite his pleasant smile, the upper right portion of his face is in a sorry state. An eye patch stitched with a stylized eyeball wraps around his head, and his ear is a mangled remnant that twitches and spasms while the other ear perks up at your approach. Next to him is the splayed carcass of a deer that appears ripped open by a bear or wolf. Eye patch stitched with stylized eyeball. Is that like whale symbol? So he's a priest of whale.
If this is your deer, you need a new game warden. Name's Haravius. Hungry? I can't eat all this. First catch of the day, help yourself.
What killed the deer?
One ornery Stelgar. Though looking at the deer's insides, it had a malformed but delicious heart, and would have been dead within the year regardless.
Ah.
Gallowayne chose a fitting end for this fine animal. Pardon me, I shouldn't pray with my mouth full.
Gallowayne is god of the hunt. Tell me about him.
Lord of the Hunt,
yeah.
Patron of all seekers. I'm the wrong person to ask.
Oh. He's not a very good hunter, I see.
As a child, I would worship Gallowayne in hopes of being a great hunter. But I have since come to know Wal, he who sees and is not seen.
Tell me about him then, huh?
Wal is the god of mystery and obfuscation. Wal does little to intervene, dictate, or limit our actions. But nor does he make himself easily known. I would say I contemplate Wal more than I follow or serve him.
Okay, fair enough. What brings you here?
Other than the delicious venison, new trees to document, new animals to sketch, new sights to be seen. I've learned as much as I can from the druids of my circle. I'd rather wander and learn than take root and stagnate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you're traveling to Deerwood and need another set of hands, I'd welcome the safety of a group.
And just what can you offer me?
I'm trained by the celebrants of Hawk and Ivy of the Fisher Crane tribe. I know more than my share of nature magic, and, well, I don't shy away from a good fight. I have business with the druids that live near Twin Elms. So long as we find ourselves there eventually, I'm happy to follow along.
I'm sure you're welcome to join us.
Splendid! It'll be an honor to run with a pack for a change.
Of course. Who do we want to replace for now so we can get a feel for your capabilities? Druid, I feel like we need to get rid of spell casting for a bit. Farewell, Alof. Okay. Now we gotta mess with formation stuff, because you don't need to be on the front line. Wait a minute. Pallegina, what are you doing? Kinda. Goodness. I got this ruins right here. What is this? The bright sun casts its light on a pattern in the ground. You kneel to get a better look. The stone here has been carved with a few simple shapes. A small circular indentation marks the center, and a much larger circle surrounds it. You see what appears to be writing above the two circles. Circular indentation, huh? The indentation is shallow and smooth. It looks like it was intended to hold something specific. Let's examine the outer circle. Several shapes have been carved along the outer ring, though most have been worn away. You can make out a crescent above the center. The curving, twisting runes are strangely familiar to you. You recognize them as ancient and Guithan. They read, "All things end, only to continue anew. Enter now at dusk, that we may all experience a new dawn." Is it? No? Okay, I guess we'll wait a little while longer. No? Not yet. Now. Oh, Bwiga! Yeah, I can't enter. It's all watered up. Huh. Well, that was pointless. Wasted a good 12 hours of the day. For nothing. Oh. Dead adventurer, he had money. Sweet. So I just can't explore that bottom half, huh? Oh, that sucks. To the Deerfoot village. Alrighty. How long do we gotta stand out here? Till we find her. So keep your eyes peeled. Well, Medrith, are you a man? It's hard to tell. An elf idles by the road, watching the village across the river. He nods as you approach, and the cowled figures standing near him fall silent.
Greetings.
Greetings, friend. I've heard of you. Word has it you've been busy in Defiance Bay. I'm busy too, and eager to finish my business and get back to the city. Uh-huh. Strong and silent, huh? Just the kind of person I need to find her. Who? Haven't you heard? There's a murderer on the loose. Said to have gone mad with grief and strangled a dozen healthy children when her own was hollowborn. We've come all the way from Defiance Bay to bring her to justice. Well, don't let me stop you. She's hiding out in the village. We'd go in after her, ourselves, but the problem is she knows our faces. There's no telling what she'd do if she saw us coming, and we'd like to avoid any further unnecessary bloodshed. Her name's Nifri. She's in Rollen. We want to get her out of town so that we can deal with her cleanly. She knows we're looking for her, but if someone were to convince her that it's safe to leave... Well, I suppose I could draw her out. She won't know you. It'll be simple. Alright. Sounds simple enough. Mad, crazy Orlan lady strangling people. Although Orlans are kind of small, how would they be able to manage that? It must be a really strong Orlan. Dear God.
Out with
Harbinger?
you! I already told you what... I'm sorry. I thought you were one of those ruffians.
He's all bruised and swollen. Black eye. Poor fellow, that looks painful. It's a sorry deed striking a priest.
How may I help you?
What happened to you?
I never saw their faces. Strange hooded men asking about those ruins. Cleoban Relag. Most of the brigands who come through here asking about the ruins are looking for a few ancient trinkets. But these people knew the name, and they were in a hurry. They wanted to know where Cleoban Relag was. I tried to keep it from them, but I couldn't hold out forever. I don't know what they were up to, but it can't be good.
Where can I find the ruins?
The Glanfathan tribe that guards the ruins will kill anyone who trespasses there. And they'll retaliate against us, too, if history is any indication. We've had too many fortune seekers stir up trouble of late. If I'm to tell you, I'll need to know your reason for wanting to go.
So I'm a watcher. Lead and Key are bad guys. And we're going there to stop something. I can't remember what. I believe it was because somebody had arrived there. And it may be those guys who beat you up. So we're going to go kill them. So there's 4 reasons right there. So this is where I say I go into the ruins and I'll kill you. And that's when you say, Haravius, I'm a watcher and you're no match for all of us. And we've got a good reason for this. And then I give up trying to argue with you, and leave you to dig your own trespasser's grave. And I'm only being half metaphoric. We sometimes make dear woodens dig your own grave before we kill you. When the kids hear about it, it's a fabulous deterrent. I mean, yeah, that's pretty true. Maybe I shouldn't bring this Glanfathan with me to do this. A dangerous plot is unfolding there. I've got to stop it.
If that's the case, then we may already have trouble headed our way. I'll have to take you at your word. You'll find Cleoban Relag here. Whatever trouble you find there, please end it quietly and try to stay out of the ruins.
Yep. Temple of Bareth. That's great. Very foreboding. God of Death. So let's head into the little town. Got a lovely little bridge here. Nice lanterns. A word, traveler. I only require a moment.
Greetings.
Greetings. What are the odds? Stuck in this backwater only to meet the famed champion of Defiance Bay. Bareth Swale brings mercy to our day, indeed. Perhaps you could help. I don't suppose you saw a young elven noblewoman on the road. I'm stuck in this wretched place with the rest of my unit until we find her. Haven't seen anyone like that. Nope. Same as everyone else in this blazing village. Perhaps you could go speak with Lord Harrond at the inn anyway. He'll be grateful for the assistance. And it could be the locals loping up to you about his daughter's disappearance more than they have to us. Okay, alright. Side quests. Whoa! That's someone's random home. No, it's a mill. Grieving mother. Why is it so lit up? I guess let's go over here. The woman looks briefly through you, as if she doesn't know you're there. She has a portrait too. This middle-aged peasant woman is dressed in a brown leather cloth draped down to her knees. Her hands are working at separating stringy, colorless vegetables in a pile before her, stripping the heads off the long fibrous stems with a paring knife. She discards the stems one by one, placing the heads of the vegetables into a small cradle-like basket in front of her. She doesn't greet you as you approach. You're not sure she even knows you're there. Excuse me? The woman doesn't respond. She keeps stripping the heads from the vegetables with a steady rhythm. She may be deaf. There's no indication she heard you. Study the woman. At first glance, she seems nothing more than a middle-aged woman, unremarkable, maybe less stern than most, who seems more focused on the weaving in her lap than her surroundings. Yet you suddenly notice she's not stripping the vegetables before her any longer. She's weaving, and the vegetable pots are now missing. She still pays you no mind, her brown locks torn and snagged from lack of washing, like many of the townsfolk you've seen. There is a strange blur to her. Even the motions of her hands seem to be playing with threads that lack color, in a shape that lacks interest. It may be that she is half-minded, or deaf, but something feels wrong as you watch. Her knitting takes on an odd cadence, and you have a terrible suspicion that something lurks beneath what your eyes are showing you. Focus. Her brown hair is long, almost impossibly to the length of her hands. As you follow the streams of her locks downwards, the hairs become long and black, splitting off into threads of black and silver, and wrapping around her hands. She is forming a soul cradle with the threads, braiding a net in front of you, each finger long and sharp like a series of knitting needles, almost hypnotic. The silver and black strands of her hair weave together, with silver predominating as a highlight, the black shadowing it. And suddenly, you are calm. You are on a plateau, almost the height of a tower, several stories high. The plateau is like a table lying beneath a clear sky, and beneath the plateau, surrounding it in all directions, a forest, hazy with mist, although whether it is actual mist, or distance, or a recollection. Resting in the curve of a natural arch before you is a great copper bell, half again the size of a man, hanging at attention, as if looking down on you, and the event unfolding before you. The plateau has soaked in the sun, and the rock beneath you is rough and warm. The sky forms a cradle around you. You feel different, not disembodied, but you feel your body. Your physical contours have changed along with the surroundings. And you hear a soft series of chimes, like wind chimes at the sound. The scene gains color and texture, as if the sound is beckoning you gently forth, filling your senses and thoughts, like mist roiling softly into a sealed chamber, and the chime coaxes you deeper into the memory, and you're certain it is a memory, a warm one. You are on the stone of the plateau, your knees on the warm texture of the ground, silver, white, shimmering like Audra. The plateau is formed of it, glistening in the sun. You can feel the heat on your skin, your wrists, and your hands. Your hands are in motion. Weaving, not thread, but gathering, tenderly moving along the first movement of Barrett's wheel. Your hands are wet. Your hands are upon the flesh of a newborn child, and you can feel the crowning of a tiny head, turning in your grip, its head slick, wet from the womb. The hands you are wearing, inhabiting, have done this many times. They are practiced and confident. You can feel distant pains in your own head as the head emerges, a stream of fluid from the womb, helping the newborn slide forth, and a woman's labored breath crying out. As your hands move, you hear the sound of chimes, clear, cutting through the haze of memory. You cannot see where they are coming from, but they are close, and they are meant as a comfort. Of that you are certain. and coaxed by your hands, every movement causing the chimes to sound again, almost eagerly, the child comes forth, and as it does, your hands are in motion, weaving, moving along the length of a soft, wet rope. No, an umbilical cord from the legs of the naked woman before you. You are holding a small child, still wet from the womb before you. The child cries out, its cry full of life, full of soul, the ringing of chimes echoing in its thoughts, filling it with its welcome. The soul is blurred at the edges as if you are viewing a soul from within a soul. But it is there. It is alive. The woman before you is weeping, and at her first cry, her hands reach out for it. You surrender the child to her, something you have done many times before, and as your hands move, the chimes echo the movement, and you realize the chimes are hanging from cords on your wrists, and where once they echoed in the memory, they are now echoing in the child's mind as well. The chimes are intended to welcome the child, to be its first gentle greeting into the world, a soothing sound guided by the tender motions of your wrists. You are helping to weave its thoughts, its perceptions, and the experience. The experience. The woman laughs with a ragged joy, laughing from a parched throat. Her emotions seem soothed, but the physical demands of labor have left her exhausted. But the child is here. The child is safe, and all atop the plateau is peaceful, calm, distant, flattening out as the memory persists. With effort, the scene bleeds of color and your mind becomes your own again. There is no pull, no anchor, yet the sound of the chimes remains, as they existed in the memory. They sound here as well, and they are hanging from woven braids on the wrists of the woman before you. Even as your head is spinning from the touch of her mind, the sound of the chimes on her wrists is sharp and clear, as if coaxing you back to the real world. The woman still sits before you, but she is nothing like what you first saw. She is wearing black, shredded garments that drape over her form like streamers. Her hair is streaks of black and run through with silver. Her age is almost impossible to tell. She simply feels old, like a crumbled watchtower. As she lifts her head to face you, you see that her hair is draped across the front of her face like a veil. What you first saw of her was a mental glamour of some sort, unconscious, and you realize what you see is not what the world sees, and you are perhaps the first to see her true self. Still, you don't sense a threat in the realization. If anything, you feel a sense of relief from the figure. You can hear her thoughts, and she is glad to at least be seen. Who are you?
I am seen, but the eyes of others do not remember. You were the first to see me as I am, the call stripped aside.
There is a light touch on your mind, a caress, and her left hand mirrors the motion of the touch. Reaching up to the air between you, you hear the chime on her wrist sound. Her hand moves as if pantomiming, resting on your cheek at a distance, and she speaks softly and slowly.
Your memories. A cadence of wheels and a caravan track. Fever. Questions by running water. Violence in a night's campfire. Arrows in the dark. And fleeing. Falling rock and cracking stone. And a storm. The storm.
The stars are coming! The storm! It actually looks like it might be cleared up.
The storm.
The storm that brushed you. Did its screaming wake you from your mind's cradle? Your memory of it is painful. Its cry is difficult to ignore. It's like a child. Many children crying out.
That's because I'm awakened. A lot of people are inside my mind now. Her hand withdraws shyly, the chimes sounding softly once again. The woman stands, uncertainly, as if she has been sitting for some time, or is too weak to bear her own weight. You notice her cheekbones are tight, her face gaunt, yet while her stance is weak, she seems determined to stand before you.
You are able to see me.
It is almost a question. You suddenly realize she doesn't seem to know what you saw when you looked at her. The image on the plateau, yet the image was so clear, so sharp. You were surprised she didn't feel you there. I'm thinking she's a cipher.
To see me is a rare gift, a watcher's gift.
I haven't done that yet.
So many questions, thoughts whirling like storm winds. That storm still roars through you, deep beneath your thoughts, yet muted and secret, like an underground river. I cannot tell if it is carving new channels or eroding what keeps your true strength buried. The fact that you could hear it at all, survive it, is something few have ever done. Your power will grow stronger with each soul you touch, as it allowed you to reach out to mine.
Interesting. There is a silence, and although it seems to last for but a heartbeat, in your thoughts, it stretches out between the two of you like a pull between your minds. You blink, take a breath, and then you realize she wants to ask you a question, yet can't form the words, as if assembling them is painful, or there simply are not enough pieces. Assemble, the thought? Now I'm gonna mindfuck her! You feel a wave of fear, gusted with the strength of relief, although oddly, her expression does not change. Then fear dissipates, and you feel strength and certainty, as if the plateau from her memory lies beneath you and a calm sky looks down upon you. Yeah, sure, let's get rid of the Glunfathen.
Meanwhile, watch your step.
Yeah. Bring in the cipher, the grieving mother. Interesting. That's taken care of. Said, ooh. An armory? Do they have goodies? It's been a while since I've done some shopping. Okay.
Hail, traveler.
I haven't seen you before. Always glad to see a new face in town. Company's good for business, and shadow's good for the soul. That's what I always say. Anyhow, what can I do for you? Show me what you got for sale. Tall grass. Okay, on to the tavern. What is it called? The Trakogen Inn. Or maybe Trakogen? I think it's Trakogen. Ahoy there,
I
Sid.
How do you
just want
do?
to find her. Surely even you can understand that.
First time at the Trakogen. Normally I'd have a song ready. Well, I haven't quite worked out this tune yet. I'm writing some chants about the founding of this inn. Say, you interested in the story? I haven't finished the chants, but I could tell you about it all the same. Sure, let's have it. Oh, excellent. These rustic fables are always great fun. Let me get out something right with. Pelagia rolls her golden eyes and exhales for an excessively long time through her nose. It was built in the time of Hadrit's rebellion. An idea and lady Thanu, once had a keep here. One of the towers still stands, but the rest is said to be buried under the village. Anyway, she stuck to the side of the Empire, and a contingent of Duke Hadrit's Knights of the Crucible helped the farmers and colonists in the area turn her keep to rubble. So, in the time of Hadrit's rebellion, Hadrit was once of Idir, but Idir was demanding too much in taxes or something. And I'm completely making this up, by the way. I could be correct, but I'm probably wrong. I'm just doing this based off the own world's history, like why the United States broke away from England, because we don't like teas being taxed, or something like that. But anyways, Hadra rebelled against Idir because of the tea taxes, and Idir and Lady Thanu built this tower that still stands here in the village. And there's probably going to be a dungeon underneath the village, kind of like in Gilded Vale, I guess. And Duke Hadrat came in and turned the keep to rubble, because she's Idiran. This inn was the first building that sprang up from the ruin, built with some of the same bricks the colonists had pulled from the Lady Thanu's castle. They say, supposedly, the quarterstaff of her chief wizard even got lost in the construction, mortared into a wall or nailed under a floorboard. Anyway, the inn was supposed to be a safe haven and a meeting place while the locals built their new town. So, we gotta watch out for treasure quarterstaff in under a floorboard or something. Cool. Go on. Dear Wardens are an ornery lot, and the more these new neighbors met, the more they argued. They realized they didn't agree on much beside ousting the old lord. The biggest divide was over the Glanfathans and their nearby ruins. Hadrit's knights and their supporters wanted to keep the peace, but a group of misfits with more anarchic learnings had formed in town, wanting to go after the tribes the same way they'd gone after their lord. Soon, the villagers were fighting with each other as much as with the Idirans. In the end, memories of the Broken Stone War and the War of Black Trees were fresh enough that the Duke's soldiers won the day. Most of the other villagers came around eventually, but some of the core troublemakers left to join the front lines in the War of Defiance. And others, I've heard, found their way into the Guided Compass, the most forward-looking of the Glanfathan tribes. I don't know if I believe that part myself, but it makes a good story. She points to the east wall. There's a portrait of one of the chief rabble-rousers and his rival in the peacekeeping faction. Someone's idea of a joke. I don't think they were particularly amused. Tell me about the Broken Stone War. That was the first major conflict between the original Idiran settlers and the Glanfathans. Happened 3 years into colonization when some farmers knocked over an Adra menhir that was part of an Nguithan ruin. The war didn't last long, but it spread quickly and claimed thousands in the early weeks. Most of the colonists didn't even realize there was a war going on until the Glanfathan raiders hit their villages. There'd been small, spontaneous skirmishes between the colonists and the locals before then, but this was organized, and it was the start of decades of violence between the colonists and the Glanfathans. As you can see, Deerwood's full of history, even in little villages like this. Tell me about the War of Black Trees. It started back in the colonial days, almost 30 years after the Broken Stone War. Even though isolated conflicts still broke out between the settlers and the Glanfathans, both sides had officially agreed to peace. Idring Hadrit, Admet's father, was Grief at the time. As part of peace negotiations, he'd signed treaties prohibiting Idiran colonists from looting Nguithan ruins. However, he'd been unable to outlaw the use of captured Glanfathans as slaves. Oi. What's a grief? A grief is the governor of a colony and is subservient to the Idiran emperor. The early leaders of the Idir colony in the Deerwood, including Edring and Admeth Hadrit, were griefs. At the start of the War of Defiance, Admeth Hadrit declared himself Duke of an independent Deerwood rather than Grief of the Emperor's colony. It was the same term used for leaders of the newly independent Valian republics. Anyway, we haven't had a grief since... Indeed, the taking of Glanfathan slaves had continued to be a source of conflict. It came to a head when Imperial agents, aided by certain earls in the Deerwood, began looting the ruins again. See, the Empire had never actually agreed to Hadrit's treaties on the matter, and the recent secession of the Valian republics likely left them eager to weaken Hadrit's position. The looting sparked a brutal slave uprising and a guerrilla campaign among the Glanfathans. Entering Hadrit was too old to lead forces into battle, and so he sent his son Admeth. Admeth made a costly but effective decision that ended the war faster than anyone could have imagined. He burned the forest near the Icy River, I believe I'm pronouncing it right, to keep the Glenfathan war bands from retreating. Thousands of Glenfathans died, and as Admuth repeated his scorched earth tactics in the following months, he wore down the remainder of their forces. To this day, over 150 years later, there are still sections of the deer wood where the trees are nothing but bare, charred trunks. Sounds like war crimes, really.
Margaren's fire.
We're
cast
decent folk,
light in dark
my lord.
places.
Perhaps you should leave and check the wilds.
Portrait depicts a man and a woman dressed in idea garb that would have been in style a century ago. Their heavy frame has been battered, and the plate that once bore their patron's name has been scratched out. They share a passionate embrace, which seems at odds with the disgust on their faces. And that man is real buff. Yeah, sure.
Greetings.
What was that exchange with the nobleman about? Folk around here is decent. They mind their own business. You want to stick your nose in it, go talk to him yourself. Okay. Lord Heront. Oh yeah, you got the missing lady. The man wears idea-style robes, simple but elegant. His fine leather shoes look like they were made for padding around indoors, yet they're caked with mud. He yanks at a lock of hair twined around his silk-gloved finger. His fine features are etched with anxiety.
My child is out there. Do they not understand?
My lord, we're doing everything we can. Unfortunately, these villagers...
Beasts take them all. I don't care how you do it, but find her.
I heard you arguing with the innkeeper
A
over
petty,
there.
small-minded man, just like the rest of them around here. I've been paying him an honest fee for board and bed, and yet he can't be bothered to stir himself to concern for my Elise.
I bet you're not paying him well.
People from these backwater villages take offense for sport. You have to but show up with a full coin purse, and they'll hear insult in the jingle of your step. They forget that Duke Hadret came from the privileged classes, as did all of the other earls and lords who financed the rebellion they're so proud of.
That just makes you sound like an ass.
I've asked around, but nobody in this mudhole has any concerns beyond their swine. They turn my men away like beggars and seem downright pleased to be of no use. But you're not one of my soldiers. And you look like you're used to getting your hands dirty, if you don't mind my saying so.
Uh-huh. My lord, if you find her, tell her I won't be upset with her. She can come back and all will be well. I just want to make sure my child is safe. Maybe it's Alice. Nothing in the world is more important to me. Why would you be upset with her to begin with? Why do you have to tell me you're going to be upset with her? That makes me real sus.
Elise. Of course.
Elise, okay. Describe her. A striking young woman, bears more resemblance to her mother than to me. She has auburn hair and delicate, well-bred features. She must be 28 or 29 now. Okay, I understand it is kind of a father thing to almost remember your children's age. But that's another sus thing. Tell me about her disappearance. Like, how did it happen? We'd stopped in Deerford for a few days. On our fourth evening here, I was making plans to continue our journey. Lady Elise was feeling unwell and went to bed. When I retired a couple hours later, I found that she had vanished. None of my men had seen her go, and no one at the inn knew where she was. Since then, my people have been combing the village, but we've yet to find a clue, and the locals have been no help. She just vanished. You didn't, like, strike her, and then she ran off. Right? Because you say you're not going to be upset with her for returning. But it sounds like you're already upset with her to begin with. Why did you and Alice come to Deerford anyways? Like, you guys are real uptight nobles. What are you doing here? It's merely a stop along the way to Aina's Rest. However, she took ill shortly before our arrival, so it seemed prudent to allow her a few days to recover. She took ill, huh? All of a sudden, she took ill in this wonderful, spring weather we're having? So it's just the allergies, right? Just the allergies. But she was looking to make an escape. What's in Aina's Rest? Lady Alice has reached an age where it is prudent for her to marry. Given this legacy business, I can't let her fertile years slip by, nor do I want her womb to fester in the presence of so many hollowborn. What? Apparently I know about a bit of the land. There are better roads along the coast. Wouldn't it have been easier to follow them to Aina's Rest? Yeah. It would have been way easier to just sail a ship from Defiance Bay, and if Aina's Rest is along the coast, to go there. But, Lady Elise would have taken sick then, wouldn't she? Been seasick. If I thought that, I wouldn't be slogging through the forest, would I? He waves ahead. The main roads are clogged with people fleeing one way or another to try to escape Widewind's legacy. It would be difficult for a caravan like mine to pass without incident. At the time, it seemed prudent to move quietly along the back roads. What are you talking about? It would be difficult for a caravan like yours. You have guards. They would keep you safe. You have an entire unit of guards here. You're trying to hide something. And where's the rest of your family? If you're going to marry her off, Lady Herond is ill-suited for travel, I'm afraid, and unfortunately, Elise has few other close relatives. My sister and her husband, Elise's aunt and uncle, of course, have been visiting Adir these past months, and as for siblings, Elise has none. My wife has only given birth to Hollowborn, since Elise, that is. Tell me about yourself.
I'm Lord Nestor Harrond of Defiance Bay. My family has been prominent there since Imperial times. Our primary estate is on the outskirts of Brackenbury, but we have holdings in New Haomar as well. Those went to my sister and her husband.
Naturally. Real sus. Real sus. What's up, Pace? Heavy sweet perfumes emanate from the barrels. The stave joints are stained dark brown and dull purple. Wasn't there a other lady here? This skull deer head looks as old as the inn. Its leathery skin is cracked and bleached from years of exposure. Who's coming up the stairs? It's me! Yes, you, knife free. The Orlin hovers by the window, peering out of it every few seconds. As you enter the room, she watches you carefully, her hand hovering over her stiletto. She cranes her head to peer behind you. Anyone follow you? Who sent you? Someone told me you were responsible for heinous killings in Defiance Bays. Let me guess. Was that someone named Medrith? It's a lie. Plain and simple. I got on the wrong side of his employers, and now he's after me. But if you're here to do his dirty work, I won't make it easy for you. Oh. Well, shoot. I'm a sucker. I'll listen to your side of the story. What story? The Dominells came after me. I just happened to rob the wrong place. How was I supposed to know they'd already claimed it? It was an honest mistake. I'm just trying to survive now. And if you spoke with Medrith, you know where he's waiting. Please help me get out of here. Oh yeah, easy. Go west. Alright. I'm trusting you. Don't have much choice. See if you could send him the other way. That should buy me some more time. Alright. Maybe I can play both sides of the coin and get double the payment.
Hey.
Close that door.
All right, then.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Nobody saw it. It's okay. What's this? This painting depicts a forested ravine somewhere in the living lands. I know that place. This painting portrays the expansive foothills below the mountains of White March. What's in here? The glass of this window is broken. Warped, knotted planks have been nailed over it.
I can do that. That's settled.
Nice.
I can do that.
Loot.
That's settled.
Maybe the daughter is just a rebellious teenager. Well, no, wait, she's 28, 29? Ain't no way. She's probably super grown up by then. Like, I understand, like, men at, like, 28, 29 are still horny teenagers, but women, I'm pretty sure they're grown up by that point. I am not a woman, of course, so I don't truly know. I'm sure a lot of people would tell me I'm mistaken or anything like that, but whatever. Well, that's all the time we have for today. But adventures we've had, new adventures we've had. We've discovered new friends to adventure with, Haravius and the grieving mother. She still hasn't given me a name, but she's very interesting. We've learned of Deerford Village. We're entangling ourselves in new plots involving rebellious, women, I guess. She's 28, 29, not really a teenager anymore. So this episode has kind of had a theme of just new adventures all around. Security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature, nor do the children of men as a whole experience it. Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing. This is Master Barkle from Brighthelm Recording, signing off.